From a station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5:30, streaming now.
Now at 5:30, save or spend. It might be enticing to spend that stimulus cash now, but you could really make it pay off with a little thought and planning. Some expert advice tonight, straight ahead. And getting life lessons from working on a bicycle. The program teaching kids more than just how to make the wheels go round and round. Chris?
Topping our lineup, vaccine trials involving kids are ramping up. What pediatric doctors say we can expect, and the top questions that need to be answered. And we're looking at the trend of so-called vaccine tourism, how it's frustrating some who say it is pushing others farther back in line. And we're getting an inside look at one state that has been among the top for getting COVID vaccines into people's arms, why their rollout has been so successful.
This is a beautiful view. It's a gorgeous view. You pick a different adjective. Tomorrow night, I don't think we'll be able to see as far because we'll have ongoing snow, a burst arriving at this time tomorrow evening. Temperatures, they're on the cold side, but this is January, and our snowiest. It is January, right? Yes. We're about ready to move into February. There's always silence if I don't say something. I don't know how you're reacting at home. But anyway, temperatures are in the lower 30s here, down to around 40 in Evansville. The race is on for that warmer air to come in tomorrow night and eventually change snow to rain for many of us. There is the view out in Putnam County. As far as the winter storm watch, this goes into effect tomorrow evening, sticks around through Sunday evening as we go through snow to rain and then back to snow, and brings with it probably the largest snowfall for most in the northern half of the state that we've had so far this winter. Temperatures tomorrow with dry conditions and increasing clouds, lower 30s. That's at noon. As we go into the afternoon, the snow chances increase starting after 4 o'clock. Some of that snow will be heavy as it begins.
The Rebound Indiana is our commitment, guiding you to the resources to help you bounce back from the pandemic. The second stimulus check is providing relief for some Hoosier families. WRTV's Kelsey Anderson joining us with how to make those dollars stretch.
Well, whether you already received that second stimulus check or you're still waiting on it, experts say you should avoid buying new gadgets and gizmos and instead spend that money wisely. Financial professional Logan Benham of Benham Advisory Group says if you are out of work, you might want to use that money to pay your essential living expenses. But make wise decisions and make this money last as long as you can. But if you're still employed, you might consider contributing money to a savings account. You can also deposit your refund into your retirement accounts or your rainy day fund.
It's going to make you feel a lot better and possibly give you more peace of mind if you contribute that to a rainy day fund instead of spending that on maybe a new TV or something that you might not need right now.
Benham says now is the time to talk to a financial professional to get a better understanding of what you need to do to make 2021 a better year. Now, if you haven't received that second stimulus check yet, there is a way to make sure you get it, and that is by claiming the recovery rebate credit on your taxes this year. Now, if you're found eligible, that $600 or whatever you will get back will be either added to your refund or subtracted from your balance. Working for you, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Another big announcement in COVID-19 vaccine development today. Johnson & Johnson releasing preliminary data on their candidate. It was found to be 72% effective in the U.S. in preventing moderate to severe COVID-19 after almost 30 days, 85% against the most serious symptoms, which would require hospitalization. Vaccine was also tested in Latin America and South Africa, where it was slightly less effective, which is why the average is slightly lower.
But what you care about as an American is, did this work well in the United States? Because that population then represents you. I mean, it's a reasonable representation of the ethnic and racial backgrounds and, the percent of people who are obese in this country and have various comorbidities.
Now, Dr. Paul Offit is on the FDA advisory committee that will review Johnson & Johnson's data for emergency use consideration. Now, he called the preliminary findings encouraging, especially given that this vaccine can be stored at a regular refrigerator's temperature and is just a single dose.
It's been difficult to get people back for a second dose. I mean, we have something like 20 million doses of vaccine that have been administered, but only 3.5 million people in the United States have had 2 doses of this vaccine. And that's what you need for these mRNA vaccines. That's what gives you full immunity. So there is a huge advantage to a single dose vaccine.
Dr. Offit reminds us that these vaccines are coming out so quickly because of the amount of money and resources thrown at them, but the trial size is similar to what you would have for other vaccines. He's received both doses of the Pfizer vaccine.
You know, I'm fortunate, and I just feel a little guilty in some ways that there are many people out there, and assume 100 or 150,000 people are going to die over the next 6 weeks. That's likely. All of them probably would have had their lives saved by a vaccine, but we just didn't have enough.
Both Johnson & Johnson's vaccine and another vaccine candidate made by Novavax also offer some protection against those more contagious COVID mutations. Novavax offered strong protection in the UK, about 90%, and came in at about 50% efficacy in South Africa. Now, that was a much smaller trial. They are still recruiting participants for a trial in the U.S. All right, still ahead in our lineup, vaccine trials involving kids are ramping up. What pediatric doctors say we can expect, and the top questions that need to be answered. Pfizer just recently wrapped up enrolling participants in its vaccine trials for children. Moderna is about to start enrolling participants between 12 and 17 years old next month. The two vaccines built a lot of confidence when they were tested in adults. The two have between 94 to 95% efficacy, which is higher than most vaccines. Pediatric doctors we spoke to say the vaccines are expected to work similarly in children and adolescents. But the question is whether the dose needs to be adjusted in younger children.
It's not the same as drugs where we tend to need by weight. Like if you're a little child, you get a certain amount of milligrams per kilogram. Vaccines don't typically work that way.
A difference in doses is common, especially among younger children. Take the flu shot, for example. Kids under 9 years old need 2 doses that are 1 month apart. Researchers will also look at whether there's a difference in side effects. Doctors say it's likely children will experience the same side effects, but they may not necessarily experience them at the same levels as adults.
If there's fever, that especially when you get down to the younger children, that if you're having high levels of high fever, some of those kids might be at risk to have what we call febrile seizures, which means shaking fits associated with high fevers.
Now, this can happen with any type of fever. The important thing in the trials will be that not too many children get febrile fevers. Now, once vaccines are approved for young children, doctors say they will play a key part in herd immunity.
Children make up a substantial enough portion of the population. And even though it is true that fortunately so far children mostly only experience mild infection from COVID-19, their role in transmission may well be substantial enough that if they are not vaccinated, are still able to be infected.
Now, both doctors say while fewer children have experienced severe symptoms and death from COVID-19, the virus has still affected them at higher numbers than other illnesses, which adds to the importance of getting children vaccinated. Now, we do have more to get to in our lineup, and we're looking at the trend of so-called vaccine tourism, how it's frustrating some people who say it's pushing others farther back in line. Well, you would expect to talk about your health with your doctor, but what about your barber? Alexa Liaco shows us how a group of barbers is teaming up with medical professionals to keep more people healthy during this pandemic.
There's a comforting hum in the air, a warm place to sit, and a friendly face.
The barbershop always been like a sanctuary for black men.
Decades of friendships grown where conversations flow with ease.
We learned a lot about life in the barbershop. It's more than just cutting hair. We teach, we learn from one another.
Lessons Kevin McSears carries with him every day.
I was just told that you could always have your own. You know, don't ever be scared of going out and trying to get your own and working for yourself.
Those words inspired him to open the doors of his own shop, Picasso Cuts.
There's no pressure. We communicate. We talk about everything.
And in the face of the pandemic, health is one topic Kevin is bringing up more often.
We just had that conversation a minute ago, so COVID is definitely real, you know, and being a black man, it's my responsibility to let people who don't feel it's real to know it's real.
These men know the pain this virus can bring, especially to the African American community.
We've lost people that we know. It's affected minorities on a great scale. You know, unfortunately, a lot of minorities don't have the health insurance, you know, or don't have the the means to get to the primary physician.
That's why Kevin is taking on a new responsibility, bringing resources and information right to his barbershop by partnering with doctors at LifeChair Health.
Our aim is to address health disparities amongst people of color.
Across the country, this group is building a team of medical professionals and barbers to ask tough questions and help give answers.
Ask him a question about, do you have a primary health physician? When the last time you had your blood pressure checked? And it might spark him to get his blood pressure checked. He might be sitting there with hypertension. So potentially we might save a life.
The barbers hope the conversations about health don't end in these chairs. They hope every client that leaves their shop will check in with a primary care doctor and keep better track of their health for months and years to come.
So have you downloaded our app yet? It just came out last weekend. I hope the difference is giving people those resources that we haven't been privy to.
These men hope in talking about underlying conditions, COVID-19 and the vaccine, the historic distrust from the African-American community towards the healthcare system will crumble.
We have a distrust, rightfully so.
Is this the way, one person at a time in the barbershop to fight distrust in communities?
I mean, it's one of them. It's a way for us.
A way to usher this community out of this crisis. A way to level the playing field.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
I'm Alexa Liaco reporting.
Oh, most of us grew up riding bikes, but one Indianapolis program is taking things a step further and using the bicycle to help young people build lifelong skills and find their way. WRTV's Troy Washington explains.
Oh, thought of that? No. Yeah, you're just trying to go fast.
Teach them not just the health and fitness aspects that go with riding a bike, but workforce development, how to use tools, how to work with your hands, how to build things.
All tools that students can carry with them far beyond just building or riding a bike through 913 Sports.
Whether it's getting a kid on a bike in a physical education class as part of our Kids Riding Bikes program, or being able to put a wrench in their hand and teach them how to use it and build and be able to fix a bike with our Kids Building Bikes program, we are really focused on being able to use all of those skills to create new opportunities for the youth here in Indianapolis.
And there's plenty of reasons to take part.
When that bike wheel stops rolling, it's ultimately about what children will take away from the program, and that's life skills.
With our Kids Building Bikes program, we designed it to really be incentive-based as part of their educational journey. So over the course of 4 weeks, we'll see them twice per week. It's about 16 hours of curriculum. And within that time, they're learning how to work on a bicycle, ultimately being able to build a bike from a box that they'll graduate and get to take home with them upon successful completion. But it's a lot more than just being able to get a bike in their hands. It's this opportunity to teach them those mechanical skills that can create pathways for future employability or future interest or future passions, whether it's learning how to work on a bike, which becomes learning how to work on a car, becoming a mechanic, or deciding that, how does a bike work? And that fascinates me, and maybe I want to be an engineer. So we're really using this platform, these bicycles, as a way to just be able to open their eyes to something that they may never otherwise have thought of.
Working for you, Troy Washington, WRTV.
Now, to connect with 913 Sports and the programs they provide, you want to look for this story on the WRTV app. Kevin.
Several views for you. We'll start down in Bloomington, Monroe County. As the sun gets ready to set here just after the top of the hour, skies will gradually increase with cloud cover overnight. We'll call it partly cloudy. Here's the view from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway looking to downtown Indianapolis. You can see the reflection off the buildings there from the setting sun. Temperatures tomorrow and Sunday above freezing a lot of the time. That means we'll be melting some of the snow, and it will also be in the form of rain at times. That's why I think it'll be a sloppy mess. 3 to 7 inch potential snowfall. The 3-inch amounts closer to Indianapolis, the 7-inch amounts closer to a Muncie, Marion, Peru, Logansport line. The farther you go north and east of Indy, the better chance for all snow. Okay, it arrives with a punch. A real kick to it. Lafayette to Indy to Greensburg. That's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We take it to 7. Still ongoing moderate to heavy snow at times, and visibility will be down under a half mile. And you can see that goes to Terre Haute, Bloomington, and Seymour. Southwest of that, you've still got rain. Still snowing. The heart of the accumulating snow will be tomorrow evening until about midnight. Then the rain snow line comes north, changing to rain rain for much of central and southern Indiana, staying snow then to the north. That's why the higher snowfall potential there. Don't forget our Storm Shield app, not just for severe thunderstorms, but winter events like this as well. It's free.
While the race to get vaccinated is on, some people are traveling out of state where it might be easier to get a shot. Meanwhile, others struggle to make appointments in their home states. Usher Qureshi looks at the trend of so-called vaccine tourism.
Hi. Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you? Lisa Spewak, an early childhood center director in Illinois and frontline essential worker, has been waiting her turn to get vaccinated.
Every day since August, I've been again within a population where I'm susceptible.
Dr. Inbar Kursin is a physician whose practice is not affiliated with a hospital. Despite providing COVID testing every day, she says vaccines for herself and her staff were difficult to get.
When the hospitals around our area received vaccine, they were focused on vaccinating their staff and left us as unaffiliated physicians to go searching and fending for ourselves.
Like many other states, Illinois has opened mass vaccination sites, despite a federal shortage of shots.
Every state in the nation is experiencing this same shortage.
And yet, according to state data we looked at, more than 18,000 people from outside of Illinois have been vaccinated here. Vaccine tourism, as it's being called, is raising concerns about who gets priority and where.
Having people hopping across state lines and taking up what could be vaccinations for myself and my staff and any one of my family members is really concerning to me.
It's unclear just how many people are traveling out of state to get vaccinated. There is no national data, but some states are keeping track. In Washington, D.C., more than 24,000 non-residents got the shot. In Ohio, more than 18,000. And in Florida, according to state records, upwards of 52,000 people from out of state have been vaccinated. It's something the governor there said the state would crack down on.
We're only doing for Florida residents. You got to live here, either full-time or at least part-time.
Dr. Kursin was eventually able to get her 2-dose vaccination in her home state, but she says there is a growing sense of panic.
There's also a sense that we are going to run out. And I think all those things are creating this idea that people do have to seek beyond their local area to access the vaccine.
Hi there.
A real concern for Lisa Spewak ahead of an appointment for her first dose.
My worry is that there won't be enough vaccinations on that day for me to be vaccinated.
And with the new administration's goal of 100 million vaccinations in its first 100 days, there's still a long way to go. In Chicago, I'm Usher Qureshi reporting.
Usher, thank you. And a special set of glasses is helping people who are visually impaired. Jason Barber is a farmer in Tennessee. In the past few years, he went legally blind. The Tennessee Vocational Rehabilitation Program works to keep people with disabilities in the workforce. It began helping Barber find solutions 2 years ago. Thanks to them, the farmer now has a device named OrCam that clips to his glasses. It can read out information aloud on everything from medicine bottles to cattle tags.
Whenever I'm walking through the herd and when I get to a cow that I need to know the number, the OrCam should read it back to me.
Yeah, pretty cool. Barber says the glasses help a lot and hopes one day they'll make improvements so they can work better for agricultural workers. Now, 6 new grape varieties have been approved in an effort to combat climate change. They will be added to the 6 red and 8 white varieties already permitted to be used in bottles of Bordeaux. Now, the grapes were chosen for their potential to flourish in conditions caused by global warming. Let's finally get to our last part of the lineup here. We are getting an inside look at one state that has been among the top for getting COVID vaccines into people's arms, why their rollout has been so successful. More than 21 million people in the U.S. have now received 1 or more doses of a COVID-19 vaccine. This is according to the latest numbers from the CDC. West Virginia is a state that has been leading in total vaccine doses administered per capita since the beginning and continues to be on top. Now, you can see on this map, the darker the blue, the more COVID vaccines administered per capita. Now, we're looking at what others can learn from West Virginia. This week, it launched an online COVID-19 vaccine pre-registration system. The tool lets people in the state say they want to be vaccinated. Then they'll be notified to make an appointment when doses are ready for their priority group. Early on, it opted out of the federal program to vaccinate people in nursing homes. Independent pharmacies are part of the distribution effort, relying on their knowledge of the local community. One of them says so far, They haven't wasted a single dose.
I've even driven to a patient's home just to give them a dose because it was going to go to waste. She was 99 years old. Her daughter said she's ready to go, so I hopped in my truck, drove across town, and gave it to her in her house.
Every week, vaccines are delivered to 5 hubs, then distributed by the National Guard throughout the state. They say they're ready to ramp up now. They just need more vaccine supply to do it.
If truly today we had an unlimited supply of vaccine, I will promise you beyond any doubt whatsoever, every single person in the 3rd oldest state with the most chronic illnesses that are 65 and above in West Virginia, all of them would have the vaccine in their arms by the 14th of February.
More than 10% of people in West Virginia have received first doses of the COVID vaccine so far. Wildfire smoke is expected to become a much bigger health problem. New research is showing that. On Monday, what researchers studying this climate change issue say needs to be done to prevent all of us from breathing the sickening smoke each year.
This is the big picture forecast as we go through the next 7 days. Notice a temperature highlight on Thursday when the temperature climbs to 47. But it's all about this weekend. We'll get into those details straight ahead.